Hi, I'm Daniel Butler. Welcome to another edition of America's Dumbest Criminals. On this episode of America's Dumbest Criminals.
Whoa, what's going on here?
A confused crook in courting trouble. A bungled burglary in batter up. A Dumbin in the rough.
I got some more in here. You want to take a look?
You got some more in there, huh?
Yeah. The restaurant roof clown. All this and more on America's Dumbest Criminals. Here's your host, Daniel Butler. Hollywood is full of people from all over who are waiting for their big break. The lights, the camera, the action, something to write home about. Like this doped-up dummy. Dear Mom and Dad, sorry I haven't written lately, but I've been pretty busy just hanging out and painting the town. It's really a very colorful place. I've been frustrated recently because I'm not climbing the ladder of success as quickly as I had planned, but I try my best just to vent, go to a special place, and try to get a good perspective on my life. Sometimes I get a little carried away, but I have plenty of friends who help keep me grounded. Well, I'm going to go for a ride now. See you in court. Duh, Billy. P.S. My new cellmate is swell. He wants to be my best friend. Do you ever get that rundown feeling? Me too. Well, just imagine what that would be like after you committed a dumb crime and tried to make an even dumber escape. Half a block away from Philadelphia's federal courthouse, a man robbed a Mellon Bank branch and ran into a parking structure where hundreds of federal agents park every day. He was quickly spotted and arrested within a matter of minutes. He was charged with bank robbery after being subdued by special deputy marshals. Keeping it all in the neighborhood, the robber was brought before a judge in the very same courthouse that afternoon. Convenient. Well, strap on your pith helmet and call me Marlon Perkins for a minute. We're about to enter the world of the Wild Kingdom. This is a segment where a smart animal helped capture a dumb crook. Down in Rock Hill, South Carolina, Deputy Jeffrey Cornwell and his partner always seem to be out of luck when they try to serve the arrest warrants on one particular subject.
Police! Ooh, who let the horse in here?
Huge dog. Hi. Hi, are you friendly?
Then the police found a new best friend. The outlaw's dog led them right to his master, who was hiding in the hills.
Is Daddy home? Where's Daddy? Is Daddy home? Hey, where's she going?
You go find
Where's she
Daddy.
going?
Go find Daddy.
Lucy, is Daddy there?
Mr. Johnson, you need to come out with your hands up. Let me see your hands. Step on out. Step on out. Turn around. Stand, man.
Lucy, bad girl. Bad dog.
Oh, good girl, Lucy.
Good girl,
Good girl, Lucy. Man, don't yell at your dog like that.
In this case, the bark was definitely worse than the bite as Rover rolled over and fetched his master right to the big doghouse. Sergeant Roy Huntington of San Diego tells the story of a guy who had his own interpretation of the law.
I had a guy stopped a couple of years ago, and right away he put his hands up. He says, "No, wait, man." He said, "Hey, I heard that if I volunteer to give you my dope, then you can't arrest me."
The guy quickly reached into his glove compartment and produced a hefty supply of narcotics and handed it right over to the officer.
He came out with some bindles of crystal methamphetamine. And I said, "Wow, that's really good of you. Well, look, I have to get your name and stuff. Do you mind?" He said, "Hey, no problem. No, cooperation is my middle name."
The officer asked the guy to step out of the car to answer just a few more questions.
So I grabbed his hands and I put handcuffs on. He said, "Oh, man." He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm arresting you for possession of crystal methamphetamine." And he said, "Man, you told me you wouldn't." And I said, "Well, I kind of lied to you, didn't I?" And this was a great one. He said, Oh, man, you can't even trust the cops anymore.
Sometimes burglars will go into a store before the job to case the joint, get an idea of what the layout of the place is and what they hope to steal. In this case, the dumb criminal was good enough to put his name on the items. Take a look. One day, the suspect came in and admired some jewelry in this Las Vegas store and put them away on Layaway. A short while later, he returned, and when no one but the video camera was looking, he stole the merchandise, deciding that takeaway was better than layaway any day. Of course, the man's name and address, plus the videotape, helped solve this case in no time. As a reward, the criminal was presented with some jewelry on loan from the police department. Shiny new bracelets.
Go back to the couch and assume the position.
You're going to have a baby. Or your wife.
Not me, yeah.
That would make news.
Hi, I'm Daniel Butler, and this is the other white meat, Beaumont Bacon.
Hey.
Blazing a crimson trail across the dumb crime world, this gun-toting goof made a not-so-clean getaway after robbing a convenience store.
No?
No. Moments prior to committing his crime, he'd shot himself in the foot. The police followed his bloody trail right to his house.
He's just standing there, dance.
To himself.
To himself.
Yeah.
He had a shootout with himself.
That was an easy target.
And then he robbed the store after all of that?
After he shot himself in the foot. We never said these guys were smart.
Obviously. Well, like this girl, she was stopped for speeding, and it was a routine traffic stop. And this Lincolnshire, Illinois officer really didn't look that closely at her driver's license. However, he did run a check on it and discovered that license was suspended.
Uh-oh.
Now, he approached the driver, who apologized and said that she had mistakenly given the officer her friend's driver's license.
So this girl gives the officer someone else's driver's license, but it's a suspended license?
You are so quick. You are so quick.
That's luck.
She was relieved that she was not going to be arrested for driving with a suspended license. However, she was given a speeding ticket and was arrested for obstructing how do you obstruct a police?
Well,
block
you either get caught in his throat or you're going to stand in front of him, I think.
We'll do a little maneuver on him and unobstruct that police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
Her car was towed off to jail, and she was off to jail as well as she was impounded.
They went together.
They went together,
Good.
car and woman together. Had she given the officer, here's the thing though, if she'd given the officer her driver's license in the very first place, she probably would have been sent on her merry way.
Yeah, well, that's her first mistake. This Akron, Ohio undercover detective was posing as a decoy prostitute when she cooled...
Wait, how do you decoy a It's like the duck.
Like a duck, like a duck. She cooled
I'm not
more than
real.
just the heels of this curious John. A young man kept driving around and would stop and just look at her when she walked to the car and then take off.
She looked familiar, I guess?
I guess. On his third trip around the block, though, the detective looked inside the car, and lo and behold, he had his pants down and was airing out the dirty laundry.
Ew.
And the family jewels. She was ready for him, though, the next time he came around. When she approached the car, she threw a large armful of snow on his lap. Yeah,
My
frosty.
goodness. There's a professional snow job.
Yeah, it was.
Well, Daniel, on that frosty note, it's time for our Vidiot
Of the week.
From all the stories we received this week,
A cornucopia of crime.
we had many. This is our favorite. This dimwit decided to wait until the sun went down before he tried to rob a Minnesota convenience store.
That's a good idea. Makes sense.
That's a good idea. Well, it would have been actually if he had waited until the store was closed. And he was grabbing things off the shelves and he noticed that other customers were watching him do. Wouldn't you think that would be a weird thing if you go, hey, I'm robbing a place that's supposed to be closed, but there's people here.
Yeah,
Something wrong with this.
shopping.
He's shopping. They have money. And he was obviously caught a few minutes later.
Now, fortunately for him, the jail is always open.
It is just like a good all-night
Says right there under the sign, jail, we never close. Our next story is about a dumb criminal who used his hands, his feet, but not his head. A detective from Lenore, North Carolina, was interrogating a suspect about a string of burglaries that had occurred in the area. The man admitted to breaking into 3 of the houses he was being questioned about, but not to a business in the downtown area.
We got fingerprints on all locations. Your fingerprints are these. Anybody else got these hands but you? You're bought and paid for them with your fingerprints.
You don't have my fingerprints. I know, you don't have them.
What makes you think we don't have your fingerprints?
I'll tell you why you don't have my fingerprints. Because when I did that job, I had socks on my hands.
He should have put one in his mouth. Sleeping on the job is not a crime in most cases. However, this dumb criminal was doing anything but sleeping on the job in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Officer Merle Favinger was on patrol in an unmarked car one afternoon when he noticed a rookie repairman making an unscheduled service call in a car in a nearby parking lot. He just happened to know the guy who owned this particular car and didn't recognize this tuned-out master. He approached the car and told the guy to come on out, but all he heard was obviously fake snoring. When the deviated deviant finally did come out, he said that he didn't have any tools, but had suddenly felt tired and just decided to take a nap under the car.
I was sleeping. Turn around for a minute. Any weapons on you? No?
Needless to say, the officer uncovered the tools and took the car napper in for a little rest, behind bars, for 5 years.
Coming up next,
Whoa, what's going on here?
a bungled burglary and batter up on America's dumbest criminals.
You have the right to remain seated.
How do you catch a really dumb criminal if all you have is a name and a vague description?
This officer let us in on a trick she used on more than one occasion. She caught the first suspect in a felony assault case and was close to nabbing the second. She had a description and a name, Joe Soap. Patrolling the streets near the crime, she spotted a man in the group who fit the profile, but was he Joe Soap? Only one way to find out.
Are you Charlie Brown?
No, I'm not Charlie Brown. My name is Joe Soap.
All right,
That's
hey,
my
come here.
first-
Go ahead and put your hands on top of your head.
Out of the mouths of fools. The amazing thing is that it was not the first time this trick had worked, nor will it be the last, thanks to the confused criminal mind. Some scientists theorize that alcohol abuse causes irreversible nerve cell degeneration. We'll go one step further. We say drunks have suds for brains. And here's the proof.
Arrested for brawling in the neighborhood bar, this Drem, Utah boozer was quickly cuffed and put in the back of a squad car, while officers ran off to pursue his drinking companion. However, our backseat bozo decided to attempt a getaway by throwing himself over the seat and into the front of the cruiser. Unfortunately, his head hit the gear shift, knocking the car into drive and sending it into a grove of bushes a few feet away.
The loser sobered up a few hours later, just in time to plead guilty to 15 charges, including auto theft, reckless driving, DUI, and stealing police property. Hey, there's a new inn hotspot where all the dumb criminals are having happy hour, the local jail. And just their luck, justice is being served on ice around the clock. When corrections officers told a man that he would not be able to start serving a previously scheduled 48-hour jail sentence because his paperwork hadn't arrived, the man became upset.
Are you sure it's today that you're supposed to come in?
Of course. Y'all been allowing me to come in.
Have you been drinking?
Of course. You think I'm going to come into this place sober?
Hold on for 1 second.
Come on, let's get moving.
Hold on. Relax, all right? Hold on.
Right. Come on.
So, it turned out that the jail was able to find room for the man that night, just for a different offense.
You ready to do your time, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, let's make sure you don't have any weapons on you. Put your hands back here.
Huh? What?
Put your hands back here.
I'm here.
Spread your feet for me.
The problem is that you're not going to be here for 48 hours. You're going to be here with something else.
What?
Well, you're drunk.
And thus ended the case of the heavy-drinking, light-thinking prisoner. Cheers. Down the hatch. What's one of the dumbest things a person can do while working?
Well, this brainless burglar breaks into a store, looks around for a minute, then grabs a magazine and sits down to read it. Then he promptly falls asleep. Fortunately, the silent alarm sent a wake-up call to the police department.
Now this dingling has plenty of time to catch up on 40 winks while doing 5 to 10 years. You remember the tale of Hansel and Gretel? They left a trail of breadcrumbs so they could find their way back home. Well, an officer tells us a similar tale with a twist.
And all of a sudden, we see this woman coming out, and she looked very heavy set. And she was going towards the exit. And as she was going, almost every step she took, there was something falling out under her skirt. And it was shoplifting. And what happened was the bag that she was putting everything in under her skirt had a big rip in it. So she's making this trail going out of the place, and here's a clerk coming along pointing to her so the security man would know. So it was going out just about as fast as it went in. And then there's another clerk coming along picking up everything that's dropping.
The woman will have plenty of time to think about what went wrong. A resident of an apartment complex called to report a car theft in progress. Since the caller lived in the complex next to the garage, he was able to give a good description of the suspect and his location.
Upon arrival, the cops found that the theft was still in progress. The soused suspect was obviously frustrated in his attempts to open the driver's side door, but he did have on a nice cap. The cops were able to apprehend the drunken man and take him down to the station. He claimed that he was doing nothing wrong and that the car he was trying to get into was his own. It wasn't.
Drop your keys for me. Just set your keys down right there.
After contacting the guy's wife, the officers found out that the man did live in the same complex, only his car was 3 garages away. Same color, different model. He was charged with public intoxication and grounded for 1 night at the local jail so he could sit and think about what he had done.
You have the right to remain seated.
Going to court for your own preliminary hearing would certainly not be a joyride for most people, but one Virginia Beach car thief was the jaw-dropping exception to that particular role.
Finished with court for the day, the suspect tried to slip behind the wheel of a shiny new car. Unfortunately for the cocky car thief, an officer on the scene had run the man's plates and discovered that he had driven a stolen car to his preliminary hearing for car theft.
What are you doing riding in a stolen car? What'd you want me to do, take a bus to court?
So, justice wasn't taken for a joyride after all, and the dumb criminal went from behind the wheel to behind the bars in no time. Boy, dumb criminals are a greedy bunch. However, as you'll see on this surveillance tape, this money grubber was lucky to get away with his empty head in one piece. As you can see, the frantic freak has gotten behind the counter at this convenience store and decides instead of just taking the money, he'll take the whole cash register home with him. Unfortunately for him, the machine was securely fastened to the floor and wasn't going anywhere. As the crook attempts to swing the register over the counter, the cooperative clerk decides to do some swinging of his own and grabs a baseball bat from under the counter. And quickly chases the surprised suspect from the door and to his waiting car. Although the police never recommend that an employee take action, this brave slugger hit a home run and was able to send the register wrestler to the county dugout for the rest of the season. He was later traded to a state prison for 2 counterfeiters. Thanks for watching. Join us next week as we continue to highlight the lawfully challenged losers here on America's Dumbest Criminals. On the next episode of America's Dumbest Criminal.
Put your hands up on the top of your head.
A girl and her bottled up robber. A freaky fumigation burglar. A stoned stooge in Rocky Mountain High.
Sir, have you been drinking or smoking pot?
There might be some pot in the cut. All this and more on the next episode of America's Dumbest Criminals.
Can we do another one?
Oh, yes, please.
All right.
Roll on.
This is pretty routine, and I don't know what it is about it. Being out here, especially at nighttime, there's something about naked water skiing. I don't know what it is, but people have to do it. And
is it against the law?
Well, technically, no. Maybe public nudity, but who really cares? But what they're doing is that they're skiing at nighttime, which is illegal. And the speed limit and some other things, and it's just unsafe. But like we were saying earlier, we only catch the stupid ones. And a couple years ago, after the 4th of July, it was pretty quiet out in Fiesta Bay, and I could very clearly hear some yowling off in the distance. And we looked over, and we could just see the wake of a boat in the darkness. And they were coming our way, so we just kind of waited for them to come to you, which is the best kind of ticket. You don't have to go chase them down. And so we see a boat go by with a naked woman at the helm, small speedboat boat, and she's howling and laughing, and she waves to us, and then we see the water ski rope, and behind her is a naked guy, howling and screaming and laughing. And so, what do you do? You know, it never ceases to amaze me, even after almost 20 years. So we stopped them, and they, of course, were both drunk, and they didn't know they were doing anything wrong, but we informed them that they were. So.